It is 6:47. We're going to call this special hearing to order. Declaration of a quorum of 7 members present. Moves us to item C, consideration, discussion, and possible action related to the financial management report for the 2018-19 fiscal year and overview of the school's first financial integrity rating system of Texas system and most recent ratings for the College Station ISD. Mr. Martindale.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Each year, a district is required to review its most recent financial rating from the state of Texas. And I know that Mr. Laster will touch on this. Understand that the 19 rating for the school district that he will share with you is based on data from 18-19. So that always gets somewhat confusing because it goes back so far. But just to make sure you're aware of that. Again, I know he'll touch on it in his presentation, but with a review of our rating, our Director of Business Services, Mr. Thad Laster.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to present the district's Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas report for the year 2019-2020. As Mr. Martindale stated earlier, the rating for the 1920 year is based on 18-19 financial data. What is the first? It's the state's financial accountability rating. Each district in the state has to submit certain financial data to TEA, and then TEA will assign a financial accountability rating to the district. The district must then, after receiving that rating, must make notice in the newspaper and hold a public hearing, which we're having this evening. Since the inception of the first rating back in the 2002-2003 year, except for 2010-11, College Station has received the highest possible rating each of those years. What's the purpose of the first? It's to ensure that school districts will be held accountable for the quality of their financial management practices and to achieve improved performance in financial management. A brief timeline of financial data that's collected. We close out our fiscal year in August. So we're talking August 2019. December of that year, we must submit our annual audit to TEA. It's presented to the board in December, and then in January, we submit that to TEA. In March, the first data is submitted to TEA, and then August, preliminary first rating is received. And then in November, we received the final rating, and then we do the public hearing over the first rating. A few requirements that the district's required to do. We have to publish in the newspaper the notice of this hearing, and we did that on November 4th of this year. We're conducting the public hearing, and then we post the first report and the annual financial accountability management report on the district's website, along with conflict of interest disclosures, and that's posted on the purchasing website. The first rating is based upon 15 different indicators. 5 of those are considered to be critical indicators. The remainder are solvency indicators. 4 of these critical indicators, if you fail one of those 4, you automatically fail the entire first rating. That's indicators number 1, 2A, 3, and 4. Critical indicator number 1 asks if the annual financial report was submitted on time to TEA for August 31st year-end districts like ourselves, that would be January 28th. The answer to this indicator is yes. It was submitted January 8th, 2020. Critical indicator 2A, was there an unmodified opinion on the annual financial report? Answer is yes. Weaver presented this to the Board of Trustees last December 17th, 2019. Critical indicator 2B, and if you'll remember, only 2A is an indicator that if you answer no to, you fail the report. 2B, and I'll go into this a little later, has been moved down to a solvency indicator for the next rating year. But for the 2019 year, the answer to this indicator was no. Management made a decision last year to change the way that we accrue salaries at year end to so it'd be more accurately reflect the financial position of the district. And the auditor determined that this created a material weakness in internal controls. The change is in accordance with GAAP and is much more appropriate method for accrual of those salaries. So in essence, we corrected a problem that we had, which in turn created a material weakness. And I believe that was, I think this board and Weaver has discussed this on a couple of different occasions. Critical indicators 3 and 4, was the school district in compliance with payments of terms of all debt agreements? Answer is yes. Did the school district make timely payments to TRS, Texas Workforce Commission, IRS, and any other government agencies? The answer is yes. You'll notice there is no indicator number 5 that wasn't rated this year, but being that there was a 2A and a 2B, that's the 5 critical indicators. Indicators 6 through 15, College Station scored the maximum of 10 points on all indicators except for number 7, which we scored 8 out of 10. This gives the district a total score of 98% out of 100. I'll go over a select few of these solvency indicators. All indicators can be found in the annual financial accountability management report, which is on the district website for public view. Indicator number 6 was the days of cash on hand and current investments in general fund sufficient to cover operating expenses. The answer to this question was yes. We had TEA likes to see 90 days. We had 127 days cash on hand. Indicator number 7, like I mentioned earlier, was the only indicator we didn't score 10 points on. It's a measurement of current assets to current liability, and we scored a 2.75, and to get the total 10 points, it's 3. So we're just a little bit behind that. Indicator number 9, the school district's general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures? If not, was the district's number of days cash on hand greater than or equal to 60 days? The answer to both of those is yes. Indicator number 10 was the debt service coverage ratio sufficient to meet the required debt service? Answer was yes. 10 points for this ratio. Anything over 1.2 would be 10 points, and College Station ISD was 1.4. Indicator number 11 was the district's administrative cost ratio, which is the percent of the budget spent on administration equal to or less Then the threshold ratio. The threshold in the first is 0.0855, and we were less than that at 0.0687. So we scored the maximum 10 points there. Indicator number 14, did the external independent auditor indicate annual financial report was free of any instances of material noncompliance for grants, contracts, and laws? Answer is yes. College Station ISD received a clean audit report indicating no material noncompliance. This brings us to a total rating of A, superior, which is the highest possible, 98 out of 100 points. There are a few other disclosures that the district has to produce, and in the management report, that includes the superintendent's current contract, any reimbursements received by the superintendent and board members, outside compensation received by the superintendent, any gifts by the superintendent and board members, and any business transaction between the district or any of the board members. These disclosures are all included in the management report available on the district website. So as I mentioned earlier, starting 2020-21 rating year, which will be the 1920 fiscal year data that we're wrapping up, and the annual financial report will be presented to the board in December. They are changing a little bit. There's now going to be 20 indicators. There's one new critical indicator, which pertains to the net position of the district. As I mentioned earlier, indicator 2B this year is going down to one of the solvency indicators for next year. There's 6 new solvency indicators to go along with that. Number of days of fund balance, debt per $100 value, 3-year budget to actual variance, pupil projection variance, financial information posting, and property value discussion. Once again, 3 of the prior year indicators have either been removed or changed. And that concludes this presentation. I'd like to mention again, this is just an abridged version of the 2020 annual financial accountability management report, which is available for view online.
Thank you, Thad. Maybe you and Amy can find those other 2 points that I couldn't find.
Mr. Martindale,
I'm afraid we're not going to.
Mr. Martindale, I was very disappointed we're going out with a 98, not 100. Ms. Horner, are there any comments? Any other comments from board members?
Just to thank you. I mean, it obviously is an important piece of what happens in the district, that we can be confident and our community can be confident in our financial systems and really kind of our financial solvency. So thanks to the whole team for making that happen every year.
Thank you, Thad.
Yep.
At this point, there's no public comment. This public hearing is adjourned, and we will start the regular board meeting in 1 minute. How's that?